Hey folks, time for another project. This involves my HHR, but actually it could involve any GM car of this vintage and also a lot of others because this problem is very generic. And the problem is with these key fobs. I see a bunch of these being sold on eBay and they're Chinese clones. Heck, these were probably made in China in the first place. And the problem is after these buttons get hammered over and over again over the years. This is a 2006 car, for instance. They give up. So this remote is tired. It doesn't have a battery in it at the moment, but the buttons got very intermittent. You have to hold them down, and then they progressively got worse till they would just about not work at all. But of course, the little alert button here would work because, well, you don't push that much. And here is the one I've been carrying now. It's the second remote to this car. So after the other one got intermittent, daughter, switched over to this one and basically wore this one out too. So, like I said, the horn will always work. And now these buttons work just fine. So let's go inside of the bench and I'll show you what I did to this thing for nearly no money, and you can avoid spending, anywhere from, I don't know, about 15 bucks a piece to 40 bucks a piece to replace these things. Okay, here we are at the bench. So here's the one I modified, and the way you get into these guys, many of you probably already know this from having to change the batteries. Just stick something in the groove right here, and this is most of them. I mean, some of them have a separate battery door, but and you pull them open. Okay, now let's open the bad one. Being a little careful so I don't rip my hands open. Probably best to go in the back of the thing, I guess. Hey, why are you being stubborn? Little dirt buildup. Dang it. There it goes. Oh, this also uncovers the other issue these things have. These battery holders are put on here very crappy, and the battery, relatively speaking to the rest of it, is fairly heavy, and I had to do the same thing to this one. And I didn't realize it had happened to this one also, but the battery holders popped off. I will have to check that battery, because especially if you drop it bang, bang, bang like that, it will pop off. So I'm going to have to put the battery holder back on this one as well. But since we're in here, because when I got the car back from the daughter, she moved on to something else, didn't need it anymore. It had a major problem. I fixed it, so it's mine now. And then she mentioned that, oh, by the way, the remotes don't work. When I said, I can't get the door unlocked, she goes, oh, the remotes don't work. Okay, thank you. So obviously I've got to put that back on, and I'll take that over to the soldering station behind me and do that in a moment. The part we're going to look at now is over here. Now, first of all, you notice these particular ones only have 3 buttons, but obviously these guys are used for all the different options in the fancier vehicles and whatnot. These do other functions, and they'll have a different case but the same circuit board. No, you can't get those functions by just changing to a remote that has all the buttons. The computer only will do what it's set up to do. So the problem with these guys is these pads are molded into this piece. They are stuck in the mold, and then the whole deal is over molded. Obviously, these have two-part, there's red injected down here and the gray up here to give it the bicolor thing going on. Well, apparently, when these guys get slammed down, God knows how many times, couple of 3 times a day for, I don't know, it's a 2006, so that'd be 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years, whatever. They get to the point where they just don't work anymore. I'm not exactly sure why that is. I mean, it's a little carbon impregnated rubber pad. I tried, and this is a common thing to do, is take a white eraser and buff these copper finger areas to get it working again. You never have trouble with this one because it doesn't use that much. So sometimes that will work for a bit, but it didn't work on this one. These things were too far gone. So here's what I did. Let's look inside of this one. You see that? 2 little copper squares super glued in there. And these guys don't actually work on a on-off switch thing. They work as a proximity detector is the way they work. They don't really conduct. It's not like a switch that makes a low resistance path through it. It doesn't work that way. But these work fine. And even when they get a little oxide, as copper will oxide up, they still work fine. I've been using this one for a couple of months now, just to make sure it kept working. So this setup works, and this one needs to fix, and we'll deal with that later. So to get the little copper strips, I grabbed this piece of copper that I had cut some more off and did something else with. This is good for projects where you have to shield circuit boards and whatnot. I've gone in some RF gear and then had to fix the shielding, and that's just what I used. So I flattened this out really nice and smooth, cut this little strip off of it, and then snipped little squares off of it. And you say, where do you get copper foil like this? If you have access to copper foil tape, well, I guess you know where to get it. It's out there, but it's really expensive, so buying a whole roll of it. However, if you happen to have or know somebody in the trades, they might have this, and this is where this sheet came from, and I use some of this on my roof, and it's copper roof flashing. Now, it's not the thick copper roof flashing of old, which was, it's also wickedly expensive now. They cheap out on this by having this sheet of polymer on the back of it, but you could still actually use it and solder it in seams if you need to. So what I've been doing is just cutting off a piece that I need and just peeling the back off of it. It works just fine. And then ironing the wrinkles out of it with something like this. Okay, once you've gotten your piece of copper, now this might work with a piece of heavy-duty aluminum foil. I can't guarantee that. I haven't tested that. I would test that before I glued it down if you wanted to try that. But aluminum oxidizes thicker and quicker than copper does. So that might be a problem. But, just be advised. If you want to try that experiment, let me know and stick down in the, down in the comments what you did and how long it lasted. Okie dokie. I'm going to pause right here because I have mislaid my super glue. So I'm going to take my glasses off. I'm one of these folks that does not need them up close. Yeah, that's weird. But I guess I'm kind of weird anyway. Sharp pair of scissors. Now I've cleaned one side of this. Okay, which side was that? must have been this side. We only need little tiny pieces. I've roughed this up on the end, so I'm going to give this a little bit of rub down there from both sides. This silicone mat that's down on here it's a conductive, you know, soldering mat. Isn't conducive to some things, like nothing will slide on it and things stick to it like this. All right, that's flat enough. Yeah, okay, let's go with that. And cut off a little square for that to be perfect. I'm gonna give those a little bit of flattening because I know I raised a burr on them when I cut them. It's just pressing down with the smooth end of this knife. And I want to orient those with the shiniest surface up. This copper has a sticky residue on it, and you know, I got most of it off, but you know, that side's going to be toward the glue, so that side is going to be toward the glue, so it really doesn't matter that much. Alrighty then, and now I got my tweezers out. Now it's like I would have prepared the work area here for this project. And this is the gel stuff, the thick stuff. It's really good for applications like this. I think it sets up slower. It gives you more work time. There it is. Don't want to overdo it. You just need the tiniest bit on there. And then take your little copper pieces and drop them in. And scoot them in. They don't have to be oriented any particular direction. Then I'm going to drop the circuit board in there, and I'm going to push. And I'm going to push. And then I'm going to take it out gently. Voila. So good so far. Now, I learned from doing it last time, you kind of have to leave those alone for a little while and let this thick super glue set up a little longer than you would normally. If you want to use, if you get the urge to use like accelerants, I don't think I would mess with that with these things. I would be afraid that they might melt the contact here or mess with it. It's just not necessary to do so. So I'm going to pause right here and go solder this puppy back on this circuit board. Okay, there we go. All soldered back on. I don't think they actually soldered it all over here on this side. Let's do a quick check on the battery and make sure it's good. I have no clue when it could possibly have been replaced. Boy. Guess what? The battery is totally dead. All right. There will be a brief intermission while I hunt down another battery. So I went digging, couldn't find any new ones. And that one is kind of bleh. But I did find a couple. That's the one I took out of it. It's totally dead. That looks like one I may have put in it. It rattling around in there with the bracket may have shorted out and killed it. Excuse me. And this one, yeah, it's good enough. Plenty good. So conveniently, there's a plus sign on there, so you know which way to put it in. Yeah, I'm a soldering hell. Alrighty, let's put this together and then take it back outside. Phone case. It's a little nasty. I'll clean that up later. Now these are the original GM ones. It's got the GM number on the back of it. What did I do with the back? Oh well, I'll find that. See y'all back outside. Okay, here we go. Here's the one I fixed a few weeks back. Move my finger out of the way so you can see it. Alrighty. And this is the one I just fixed. Haven't tested this yet. Please don't embarrass me. There we go. And let's see if we get the bonus. Yep. So there you go, guys. If you want to fix these for basically no money at all you need is your basic crafting skills and you're done. One other thing you might use for the metal is high vac aluminum tape, HVAC tape. Kind of don't want to buy a whole roll of that, but it is handy for a lot of things. It's a thin aluminum with a very sticky back on it. Works well for many things, but you might hit up somebody, you know, your HVAC guy, maybe you got a relative that's in the business, and just have them give you a little square of tape off the roll. You know, it'd probably be about 5 cents worth. Well, there you go. Another little simple project. Save some bucks and save some inconvenience. And it kind of gives you a sense of accomplishment at the same time, doesn't it? Okay, till something else breaks. We'll see you.